Welcome back to the Positive Parenting Series and our third Solutions for Families, Why Do Children Do What They Do? But just as a reminder before we get started, if you have not done so yet, please complete the pre-survey for this module. Today we're going to discuss how we can try to determine the meaning of our child's behavior, being clear about our expectations, and how to develop and teach childhood rules as an example of making our expectations clear. Last month, we continued to build on making deposits and encouraging our children. We also talked about play and how important it is for you to play with your child and follow their lead. Try to keep using positive comments and encouragements as well as making deposits into your child's relationship tank. So, let's get started on this week's topic. Why do children do what they do? Behavior is meaningful and communicates a message. Sometimes when children do not have an appropriate way to communicate a message, they often resort to using challenging behaviors, like hitting, screaming, spitting, as a way to communicate to others what they want or need. A child who has a limited social skill or has learned over time that engaging in challenging behaviors will meet his or her needs effectively may also use challenging behaviors instead of using their language. But simply put, children engage in challenging behaviors because it works for them. It works for them to send a powerful message which results in the child obtaining what they want or avoid or escape from something they don't want. I'm going to turn it over to Bridge to give you some more information.
I'm going to talk to you about how our actions can cause our children's behavior to get better or worse. Our actions often have a tremendous influence over whether our child's behavior gets better or worse. Sometimes the things we do to try to make the challenging behavior stop actually makes it stronger. Don't forget that children bring their own personalities to the mix as well. Some children may have a tougher personality, where some may have a more sensitive personality than others. Your actions dictate the outcome of a challenging behavior. You are your child's first teacher, and you know your child's personality and what will work best for your child. If your child is a more sensitive child, then raising your voice at your child will cause them to shut down and not get the point of what you're trying to teach them during the challenging behavior. If your child has a stronger personality, then being consistent with your reaction to this challenging behavior, even though this can be challenging for you as a parent, consistency will allow a positive outcome for your child's behavior. Today we're going to talk about timeout. Timeout is one way you may deal with a challenging behavior. This is a strategy that most parents have heard of, but let's talk about timeout. Timeout is effective when the behaviors are done to get the parent's attention. Timeout may also be used when a child is so angry or destructive that he or she must be removed from a situation to calm him or herself. When children engage in these types of behaviors, parents are usually angry and also need a chance to cool down before addressing the behavior with the child. If you use timeout, remember it should be implemented in the following ways. Provide a brief explanation, such as, "You cannot hit me to get my attention, so you need to sit in timeout until you are calm." And then immediately guide your child to sit in the chair. Do not interact with the children or the child, neither positive or negative, while they are sitting in timeout. Timeout is brief, usually 3 to 4 minutes. Set a timer for your child so he or she will know you will watch the clock or your watch. Only end timeout when your child is calm. If your child continues to be upset, calmly explain to them that when they calm down, they can leave their chair. If your child gets up from the chair before the timeout is over, calmly guide them back to the chair. It is important to do this calmly and with a minimum of talking to your child. If you talk with them, either positive or negative, then you're giving them attention. Once the timeout is over, the child can return to an acceptable activity. You can calmly remind the child to behave appropriately by using these examples. Say, "I'm glad you're calm, you can go play now." Remember to always use your words, solve problems with words. Or say, "Remember to share your toys." These statements should be brief and positive. As soon as possible, praise your child for the appropriate behavior. Now we'll give it back to Tara to discuss some common mistakes made during timeout and to go over some positive parenting tools.
Okay, now we're going to go over the common mistakes with timeout. You should never angrily threaten your child with timeout if they do not behave. You must commonly state to the child the behavior that you expect, and then state, "If you cannot do this, you'll go to timeout." You should never allow other children to tease the child in timeout. You should not apply time after the episode has occurred as a delayed punishment, such as giving a timeout after coming home from the grocery store where your child misbehaved. Don't use it as your only approach. You should try other approaches so you can teach your child new skills. Never scold or berate your child when putting them in the timeout. While timeout can give you and your child time to calm down, it does not teach your child a new skill. Remember that you must teach your child new ways to behave, express emotions, and solve problems. Now, I would like to give you an additional powerful parenting tool to think about. That tool is to make sure your child knows what you expect. Often we give children information about what we do not want them to do without ever really teaching them what our expectations are. What do we want them to do? You may even give up on asking them to do things because you get frustrated by their behavior. So, stop and carefully consider if your child knows what you want them to do. Some behavior occurs because your child doesn't know exactly how to act differently, and some because your child won't. Either way, it helps to know if your child is not being expected to read your mind. Give one clear instruction at a time. When confronted with challenging behavior, we tend to conclude that the individual either can't or won't do otherwise. Can't suggests that the child lacks the necessary skill or ability. Won't suggests that the child has the necessary equipment but appears to be deliberately refusing to engage in a more desirable behavior. And remember, we tend to react differently depending on which way we're leaning. Or sometimes we just freeze because we're so uncertain about why the child is doing what they're doing that we don't know what to do next. In the middle of a challenging situation, it can be very hard to determine whether your child's behavior is the result of a can't or a won't situation. A good rule of thumb is, when in doubt, assume can't. At least until you're able to get more information about the child and same or similar situations across the time. A very important approach to getting a better understanding of can't or won't is to be very clear about what you're expecting in the way of desired behavior. And an excellent technique in that is regarded as to give one instruction at a time. Can your 4-year-old make their own bed? Will they make their own bed? Maybe, especially if you walk through the process with them. Ask your child to begin by taking the pillows off the bed. Then pull up the sheet, first on one side and then the other. Bed too close to the wall? Practice kneeling in the middle of the bed to pull the covers in place. You just take it step by step until the bed is reasonably well made. And now I'm going to pass it on to Angela.
To help our children know what our expectations are, house rules can be developed. We all probably have household rules that we want our children to follow, but have we written them down and taught them to our children? Here are ways to create household rules with your child. Teach them to your child and then use encouragement and positive comments to help him or her learn and practice them. First, let's discuss how to write your rules. For young children, it's best to pick only 3 to 5 rules. State the behavior that you want to see, be descriptive, and pick rules that can be applied in a lot of situations. A few examples of rules could be clean up after yourself, use an inside voice, and use your words to solve problems. Think about how you will explain the rules to your child. Often, parents only teach the rule after the child has violated it. For example, after Joey has hit and punched his sister to get a toy, his mother says, "Joey, you need to go to your room and no snack for you today. You know the rule, you need to ask first." Think about how Joey is feeling at that moment. Is he relaxed or listening carefully? Is he excited about learning new ways to behave? Is this a teachable moment? Do you think he's going to learn it when he is upset? Does he even understand the rule? Think about the last time that you were very upset. Perhaps your spouse or partner was 1 hour late to meeting you for dinner. You were very angry and told them how much it hurt your feelings. Let's say your partner responded with, "If you talk to me calmly and nicely, then I'll listen to you." How would you react? Don't you think you would be more enraged? Would that be a teachable moment? Probably not. Teachable moments occur when everyone is calm and listening. To talk to your children about the rules, you might turn off the TV and ask them to join you on the sofa. Show your child the rule sheet. Read the rules to them. After reading a rule, ask your child what that rule means. Give an example of the situation and say, "Is that following the rule?" Show your child where you will post the rules. Use encouragement and positive comments when your child follows the rule. Try to catch them being good. Do you think your child will follow the household rules? One way to get your child more involved is to let them help you develop the rules. They can be a part of the process. Then you can practice. If your child shows you the rules chart, if you show your child the rules chart only one time and then you forget about it and forget to review it again, then they're likely to forget what's on it. Now I'll turn it over to Marlena.
If you want your child to do something, you need to teach them how to do it. One fun way to teach rules is to model the behavior and use photographs. You can take pictures of what you expect your child to do and then model the behavior and teach the expected rule. For example, one rule might be to clean up after yourself. This might mean that your child needs to clean their hands after going potty, after playing with finger paint, or after outside play. Clean up after yourself can also mean that your child needs to clean up their toys. You will need to model this behavior, like how to clean hands, washing them at the sink, and how to clean up their toys, putting them in a toy box or shelf. Using a photo while teaching your child will help them recall the rule. This concludes this month's Positive Solutions for Families session. Please remember to go back and take the post survey. Keep in mind that your post answers should reflect what you plan to do differently based on the lessons you learned from today's session. You will be entered into a drawing if you complete both the pre and post surveys. Also, don't forget, if you are interested in Policy Council or would like to know more about it, please reach out to Tara Rogers at 304-752-6868, extension 318. Thank you, and we hope you and your family have a great Christmas holiday.